Hi everyone, Eric here. I'm back with another Reddit money story. I got really good feedback on the last one, so I want to keep it rolling. Hopefully you'll enjoy this one. So today we are at the subreddit Debt Advice. We're looking at a post from a user. Looks like the name is Odyyn, is how I'd say it. Here's the title: Lots of Debt, Needing Advice. So long story short, I was out of work about 6 years ago for a long while. So I had to pay rent slash medical slash other bills on CCs, which is credit cards. At the time, I was mostly debt free. Now, it's hard to get above water. Without giving a lot of detail, the first job I got after being unemployed screwed me over with taxes, and I owed a bunch. So I also pay that back at around $500 a month. I have a great job now and make $103,000 a year, or $3,300 twice a month. My rent is $2,300 a month. I pay for my family's cell service at $340 a month for 5 people. I can handle any other bills and can pay for groceries and anything else without issue. I just cannot save anything and feel very stuck. Should I look into bankruptcy? Some info. I have 3 credit cards currently. One mostly to pay utilities and phone. Rent comes out of my bank. Credit card 1, $13,000, 27% interest. This is the primary card I use to pay utilities, gas, phone, etc. I put $1,200 to $1,500 from my paycheck per month in this. Credit card 2, $12,000, 24% interest. I put $500 roughly into this, which is about $200 above minimum. Credit card 3, $10,000, 26% interest. Same as above for CC2. The only card with any real rewards is credit card 3. Advice? Okay, so Odyyn, we have a handful of things to talk about here. There's a lot going on. So when we add it all up, you have about $35,000 in credit card debt. The average interest rate, let's just make it easy, say it's about 25%. So you're spending, well, what's 25% of $35,000? That's about $8,750 a year in interest alone. Now imagine if you had about $9,000 more per year to do whatever you need. You're just throwing that away with credit card interest. You know that you're having this issue with all this credit card debt. So what you need to do is stop using credit cards for so many purchases. It says your primary card you use to pay utilities, gas, and phone, and other things, which I'd say is generally fine. But if you're carrying a balance from month to month, it's definitely not fine. So based on your spending habits, I would just stop putting anything new on credit cards. Pay your utilities, gas, and phone and such, maybe with a debit card, or log on and use a direct payment out of your bank account instead of having it on auto pay. Just make sure you always pay on time. But you need to break this cycle of spending so much on debt. Also, there's a kind of a blaming going on here. It says the first job after being unemployed screwed you over with taxes and you owed a bunch. So you also have to pay that back at around $500 a month. So employers can't really screw you over on taxes. I don't know what you mean happened there. What I'm guessing is that you weren't actually an employee. You were a contractor or a freelancer. You were paid with a 1099, which means the employer or the person they're technically not your employer if it's a 1099. The person you're working with, your client, wasn't required to withhold taxes for you. So that meant that you would be required to withhold your own taxes and make payments on your own. So you can tell that by looking at your pay stub. So everyone out there watching and listening, check out your pay stub. If you are not a W-2 employee, if you're not having taxes withheld, you need to do that yourself. You should assume on average that's going to be about 25% of your income. Of course, it can be higher, it can be lower. There's a lot of different situations there. But a general guideline is about a quarter of your income is going to go to Uncle Sam. That could be more depending on your state as well. You have to plan ahead for that. But we can't go backwards. You're paying off that credit card or that tax debt. It will be gone at some point, that $500 a month. Then you can roll into paying off your credit cards or into savings or other bills. So it looks like your rent is probably pretty reasonable. I don't know where you live, but $2,300 a month for a family of 5, probably reasonable enough. And that is about a third of your take-home pay based on your 2-a-month paychecks of $300. We don't know, in here you don't talk about if you have a spouse or a partner who's also making money. We'll assume that $6,600 a month is your total income. So based on that, a third of your income is going to rent. Ideally, always we want to have less of our money go to housing, but that doesn't seem too crazy. You could probably shop around and find a cheaper cell phone plan for 5 people, but again, that's not too crazy. I pay about $80 a month for 2 of us with unlimited calls, text, and data. I use Google Fi myself, but $340 a month for 5 people, and not too crazy. But it seems like you're covering all of your monthly bills and you can't save anything and you feel stuck. And the question, should you look into bankruptcy? So I would not look into bankruptcy. I would get on a plan called the debt avalanche. So with the debt avalanche, we get hyper-focused on paying off our debt and pay them off in order by highest interest rate. So first, you'd focus on that card charging 27% interest. And that's almost a third of what you borrow you have to pay every year just in interest. So I'd get rid of that as quick as you can. I'd stop charging your utilities and gas and phone, etc. to that card. It says you're putting $1,200 to $1,500 a month into that debt from your paycheck. I'd get that as high as you can until credit card 1 is paid off. Then stick it in the back of the drawer. You can freeze it in an ice cube so you don't get tempted to use it. I would just push that one aside. Then I'd go to that one that charges 26% interest. Same deal. Roll forward as much as you can every month into that $10,000 until it's paid off. And if you're putting $1,500 a month into that, it will be gone before you know it. It's a strain for 6, 8 months as you're paying it down, but then it will be gone. Then I'd go to that credit card number 3. That's 24% interest, and I'd pay that off. Once you have that done, you have roughly $9,000 a year more that you can do whatever you want with. I would save it and invest it. I'd first build an emergency fund that covers 3 to 6 months of your family's expenses. And then beyond that, I'd start investing. I'd look at something like a Roth IRA or an IRA, traditional IRA. If you're eligible, a health savings account, an HSA. There's a lot of places you can put your money that are more beneficial than paying credit card interest. So that would be my biggest advice. You recognize the problem there. I don't know what your other expenses are, like groceries and shopping and entertainment, things like that. But the more you can pay into those credit cards to get them paid off and stop adding debt to them, the better off you'll be. Now let's look at a couple of other responses. There's actually only one comment on here, so let's look at that comment. It came from Eliminate the Insanity. That's a great username. It says, stop using credit cards. $35K is enough debt. No more swiping. Put together a budget that shows your expenses are less than your income and stick to that budget. Forget about rewards. These banks are earning $8,750 in interest from you each year. We did the same math, buddy. Look into credit counseling. They can lower the rates and payments on the cards. The cards will get closed, which wouldn't be a bad thing for you. So I think I mostly agree with what Eliminate the Insanity says there, but not everything. So first off, we agreed on that first paragraph there. $35,000 is enough debt. Stop putting more debt on that card. Don't worry about credit card rewards. And we came up with the same number, $8,750 in interest per year. That's assuming about 25%. So it's actually a little higher. But that's a lot of interest that you're paying banks just to have those credit cards. And I would stop doing that. It says also here to get on a budget and make sure you're spending less than you earn. Absolutely, yes. Budgeting is critically important to your finances. Definitely want to do that. The bottom part here, I maybe agree a little bit less or not at all. It says look into credit counseling. So credit counseling can be okay in some situations, but the industry is known for being very predatory. So I'd be really careful who I trust and work with there. If they start to negotiate lower balances and lower interest rates is great. You could actually even call the bank and ask for a lower interest rate yourself, and maybe you'll get it, maybe not. But if they get the banks to forgive a portion of your debt, that's going to show up as a big negative on your credit score. It's called a discharge, and that will hurt your credit for probably 7 years, maybe 10 years. It depends on how it all comes to be. It also says the cards would be closed, which wouldn't be a bad thing for you. Now, that's another place where I'm kind of iffy. Because you keep spending on the cards, I agree with the sentiment. Not having access to credit cards is probably a good thing. But if you just close all your credit cards, it will actually hurt your credit more in the long run. The best thing you can do, truly, is to just pay them off as quickly as you can. Put them in the back of a drawer. Use them maybe every 6 months, buy lunch, and put it on auto pay so you don't forget to pay it off. So, small charges, maybe twice a year just to keep the account active. It does not benefit you in any way to pay interest on your card. There's a common misconception that you need to use the card every single month to build credit, and that's just not true. But having the accounts open with available credit does help your credit, but it hurts you more to pay interest than that benefit you would get from having the help to your credit score. So that's all I have for today. If you have any thoughts for what this user could do, definitely drop it in the comments below. I'm always interested in what the community has to say. If you agree with me, if you don't agree with me, am I missing anything? Definitely let me know. That's part of what learning about finance together is all about. So that's all I have for this video. Until next time, stay profitable.